Okay, so I know I'm being a little extra, but I really had to document this moment that has been almost 5 years in the making. Literally, I just told my team that I am leaving, and yeah, I'm going somewhere else. I'm gonna do something different. I'm gonna have a fresh start and not a moment too soon, to be honest. So, what exactly am I documenting? Me pushing the resign button in the HR portal. Yeah, I've seen this button staring and glaring at me for the past year. I did actually quit about 8 months ago, 9 months ago maybe. No, I think about 8. And then I got a counter offer and changed my mind. And what I've been realizing is that even if you accept a counter offer, most times the original reason why you were planning to leave doesn't change. Unless it's something very specific and your manager or the organization can remedy it, most times it doesn't change. So yeah, I think I realized for myself that not much changed, and I still need a change in my life personally. So today is the date that I'm giving my notice officially. I have a 2-month notice period, which is hella long, but yeah, it's the beginning of the end in my current role, and as I said in the beginning, not a moment too soon. So, gonna push the button now. Have you ever thought that you were recording only to realize that you didn't press play? Yeah, that was me just now, basically realizing that I spoke for about 10 minutes and none of it got filmed. But that's okay, we'll start over. Maybe this time I'll be more concise and straight to the point. So what I was saying is basically that a couple weeks ago, almost a month ago, maybe already a month ago, I made a video when I was in Kenya, and I was saying that basically I'm ready to stop making my current box just marginally bigger. I'm ready to step out and go to a box that may start off a little smaller than where I am, but can grow exponentially. And since I got back from that trip, which is a month ago, I've kind of had a lot of revelations. I've had some changes in my mindset, some opportunities pop up, and just my eyes have opened to a lot of things about my current situation, what I like about it, but more so what I don't like and what I want to change. And I made the decision, as I said earlier in the video, to resign from my current role. I think it's time. It's been 5 years in the same position, no, in the same company. 3 different positions in the same company, but over a period of 5 years. And I'm not going to go into what the experience was specifically. I mean, there were highs, there were lows, like with any job or anything in life. I think that these 5 years really shaped me as a person, for better or worse. I started there when I was just beginning my late 20s and continued into my early 30s. And I think the best way I can describe my experience in my current job was that it was a lot of character building, a lot of challenges, a lot of challenging people. And not that I'm saying I'm the easiest person ever, but I think when you come into an environment and you have this enthusiasm and optimism about the impact you can make and the changes that you can help facilitate, and then that kind of gets shut down consistently, and then also you come up against people who you thought were there to support and uplift you, but then in many ways they didn't do that as well as they could have. I think it changes something in you. These past 5 years, I've learned so much. I think in terms of professional experience, I've been upscaled tremendously, but at the same time, I've been very close to like a burnout on multiple occasions, just because the workload was so heavy. I think that my experience of being at somewhere that is very process heavy, but not as organized, I would say, on the processes, means that you end up with a lot to do and not necessarily the structure in which you need to do it. So by now I'd call myself almost a generalist, because I was wearing so many hats that I can pretty much do 3 people's jobs by now, which is great for building up experience. But if you want to specialize more in something, or if you just want to have a healthy work-life balance, I think that I missed out on that to some extent. And obviously I made the conscious choice to stay there for 5 years. But now I'm making the conscious choice not to move on, to do something different, to use everything that I learned and developed, and to see how I can apply that to something that gives me more fulfillment. And in the time that I was in my current role, soon to be previous role, I really poured into the organization. I really poured into my role and my team to the point that sometimes it left me empty. And that's why in certain moments I really felt so drained, so burnt out. I never went on a burnout leave, just because I have this, I don't even want to call that work ethic, because it's ridiculous to feel like you're so run down, but you won't take care of yourself because you're still prioritizing the organization over your own well-being. So in hindsight, that wasn't my smartest move, but I guess I did it because I thought that not that my job defined me, but that I felt I worked so hard to get to that place, that no matter how they treated me or what experience I had or how I was feeling, that ranked lower than what I could contribute and how productive I could be. So obviously if you do that for a couple of years and it starts to dawn on you that actually this is not the way to do it, I can understand there are jobs that are very demanding, and I can appreciate that, because sometimes there's just a lot to do. Sometimes there's a lot of work. Sometimes there's things you're trying to solve, and it doesn't mean that every day you can go in from 9 to 5. Sometimes you do longer hours. Sometimes you do nights. Sometimes you do weekends. Fair enough. Some jobs are like that. I accept that. But I think, again, to go back to this idea of pouring into something and feeling empty and not being poured back into yourself, you can only do that for so long. So I'm really looking forward to shifting to something where it's more of a symbiotic relationship, where I'm giving, but I'm also being nurtured in return. And not only am I just emptying my personal resources, mentally, emotionally, physically, into a company, but that I'm helping to build something, and something that also in return pours back into me. So I'm looking forward to that change, and I still have some ways to go because I have a 2-month notice period. So even though I resigned this week, I still have 2 full calendar months before I can actually leave, but that's okay. I want to do a good job with my handovers. I want to make sure that I wrap up everything that's needed, and I want to support the team that I'm leaving, because in spite of everything, they are all like people that I value and appreciate, and I want to make sure that I leave them in the best position possible. So I will do my best there. I have some holidays in between, so that's also good, because when I think back on every time I transitioned from one job to the next, I never really took holidays in between. I would probably be leaving one job on a particular day, and then the next day starting my new job. And I think it's weird to do that, because you don't have a moment to just like disconnect from what you were doing and I don't know, just wipe the slate clean and start something new. You immediately go from one thing to the next. I think it's like probably similar to relationships, I guess, if I were to guess. Just going from one thing to the next without having a break in between to really figure out like, what is it that I want to do? How do I want to move forward? What am I looking for that might be different from what I was doing before? So similarly, I have that situation as well, where one day I'm finishing the previous job or current job, and maybe starting another thing shortly after. It could happen again, but at least I have this like couple weeks of holiday in between, just to decompress, just to disconnect, just to really reflect and think about what have these last 5 years meant to me and my life and my development, but also how do I take that forward with me into the next thing that I'm doing. So let's see. But yeah, I really feel like I'm on the bridge right now from where I was to where I'm going, where I want to be, what I want to be doing, and I've taken the first few steps onto the bridge, so now I can see the other side clearly, and I just have to keep moving forward. And obviously, when you say that you're resigning, it does, like, in your organization probably raise questions of why are you leaving, what can we do differently, what went wrong, all these sorts of things. And sometimes it's a combination of things, but I don't feel like it makes sense to dwell on that, because even in your exit interview, if you give feedback or you explain, it's not that they fundamentally change much, at least from what I've seen from other colleagues who have left before me. More than anything, I just want to focus on making this a positive time, getting everything done that I need to do, and leaning in to what I want to do next, what I will do next, and the type of person that I want to be going forward. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna focus on, and yeah, I'm just glad that I am in the right frame of mind to do that. The last couple of weeks have been challenging because ever since I made that video from Kenya, I already knew that things didn't feel right anymore, that I needed change, that I was restless, that I just couldn't stay where I was. I was starting to get uncomfortable because I knew that it was time to move on. And as I said, you feel that stirring before you actually see the changes materializing. So now, looking back, I can understand why I felt that restlessness, because inside I knew that this is not the thing anymore. This chapter is closing and I need to move on. And sometimes you have some resistance with that because you're like, oh, how am I moving on from the thing that I know, the thing that's familiar, the thing that I'm comfortable with? And you just have to. There's no choice. It's either that you stay stagnant and uncomfortable where you are when you know there's more out there for you personally because you want more, you want something different, or you take that leap of faith and you step out and you consider what else is out there and you try the new thing and then you see how it will work. And I truly believe that, yeah, I guess it's like that metaphor, basically, that you have to take the first step, and then each step you take, your path will light the way, but you're stepping out in faith essentially just to see what else can I do, what else is out there for me if I step away from where I am now. And it's not that I did this without a lot of contemplation or made a very quick decision. I've been there for 5 years and I've been mulling this over for over a month now, maybe a month and a half already. So I already knew that it was coming. It's just that it was the timing and knowing when was the right moment to make the decision and knowing how to go about it. So we're here now. We're moving on to the next thing. We're closing the old chapter, opening the new one, and I'm really looking forward to it. So let's see where it takes me and how things will go. But I'm finally feeling energized again, finally sleeping better again, because I feel like things are more result than they were before. There's still uncertainty ahead because when you leave something familiar to go to something new and unfamiliar, you're never really sure. You're never really 100% sure, I should say. But I think I'm comfortable with that uncertainty more so than I was before. I think the uncertainty around whether I would stay or leave was more uncomfortable than the uncertainty of I'm leaving and let's see where this will take me. So hopefully, yeah, within the next couple of weeks, I can update on how things are going, how's this process, how are, just on a high level, how is wrapping up something you were doing for 5 years, what does that feel like, and preparation to start, yeah, something new. So let's see.